Marianne 2024. Marianne Williamson, author and politician, has thrown her hat in the political ring for a primary challenge against President Joe Biden. She's the first Democrat that I know of that has come forward to announce her candidacy. And I like Marianne. She was in a cluster of politicians I supported back in 2020. I think it was Mike Revelle, Marianne Williamson, Bernie Sanders, and Andrew Yang. Maybe Tulsi Gabbard was in there too momentarily. Ugh. She turned into a real piece of work, huh? Sitting in for Tucker Carlson now. That literally says everything. You don't need to say anything more than that. And I like Marianne. I believe she is pretty progressive. She cares about people. She cares about policy. What are her chances of winning? None. Like zero. I don't see anybody beating Joe Biden in a Democratic primary unless it's Bernie Sanders. And he already said he's not going to run. He already said Marianne is going to run a good campaign and, you know, do good in her campaign. Like, he was charitable about it. But he said that if Joe Biden runs again, which he hasn't officially announced yet, Bernie will be sitting on the sidelines. So the question I'm asking is, what's the value of this? Because there's a case to be made against President Joe Biden that he has failed on his Build Back Better agenda. He failed to whip his senators, call them out by name, to help enact the legislation that was going to be landmark. You have to understand, Build Back Better would have been the most progressive legislation since FDR's New Deal. That's why they were calling Joe Biden the next FDR, if you didn't catch that. But we already know what happened. He failed to whip his senators to pass his legislation, and the corporate Democrats defeated Build Back Better. So, I mean, Marianne or anybody going up against Joe Biden in a primary is going to have a vast arsenal of political issues, starting with Build Back Better, to use against him and to call him out as a failure for failing to enact systemically progressive legislation. Okay, there is a big case to be made. He failed there. And we need someone more progressive than Joe Biden. We all know this. So the cases can be made. So maybe I'm being a little bit too negative here in saying that Marianne or anyone doesn't have a chance. If someone can convey Joe Biden's objective failures to enact systemically progressive legislation, like, a good case can be made. Hearts and minds can be won from this. Okay. But my personal opinion is, if it's not Bernie, the most popular, politician in the country, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just not optimistic. Maybe, change my mind. I don't know. But one thing I do know is that Joe Biden has failed on many fronts that progressives can call him out on. And there's going to be value in that itself going in to future elections. So I'm looking at this at a broad lens. So anybody coming forward from the Democrat side, to call Joe Biden out is going to be a net positive. I just don't think anybody will be able to beat Joe Biden if when he decides to announce for his re-election. I just don't see it yet. Would love to be wrong. Oh God, I'd love to be wrong. I can't stand Joe Biden. I voted for him because I live in a swing state, and I hate unbridled fascism. I have to deal with neoliberalism, which is fascism light, as you're all aware of. With Joe Biden, because we can't have nice things in this country because fascists run this country. That's just a fact. I'm not a conspiracy nut. The corporate powers run the show here. They run the politicians. They pick the politicians. And it's a completely rigged game. And people like Joe Biden are not good for us. But he's better than, an authoritarian fascist like Donald Trump or meatball Ron DeSantis. Like, we're not gonna, deny that here. But man, I like Marianne. She's dishing out a lot of firebrand rhetoric right now, and this also gives you insight to how early primaries work. The only people paying attention to primaries this early are people like you and me who are political junkies. Okay, the firebrands, the people who don't ideologically compromise too much, the people who are tuned in 24/7 to politics, and I am sadly one of those people. It's a drag. So the firebrand, she has to feed the firebrands. She has to, give, the firebrand tone, and because we're the only ones listening right now, and that's who she needs to build her base. And then when the base is built up, politicians tend to back off. They start to go centrist. Other people start listening and they change their message. It's calculated. And I kind of saw Marianne do this back in 2020. Like, I remember her giving firebrand speeches on progressivism, on progressive policies. And then I saw her, as the primary deepened, I saw her recede from that and have a softer presentation that catered to centrists and platitudes and vague, feel-good language that liberals love. They absolutely love it. So I don't like that about Marianne. If she's going to win anything, she has to do what Bernie Sanders does, which is commits to being a firebrand who is uncompromising in their worldview, uncompromising in their policy choices. That's what she needs to do. She needs to be uncompromising. People can sniff out a phony. When you do this political calculations and start softening after you've been a firebrand, we see that. It turns people off. And we need a firebrand progressive now more than ever. When America is descending into unbridled fascism, we need someone to step up for democracy and human rights in the Constitution, and we have to have that front and center at all times. You don't need to politically calculate that. You just have to bring it. People have to see you're real. And Marianne has that potential. Marianne has that potential to let people know she believes in something. I believe in that with Marianne, because I believe she does. But then I also see her backing off because she gets some bad advice. Whoever's whispering in her ear, with these stupid political calculations. She just needs to be authentic. If Marianne brings it consistently with authentic Marianne, from the heart, from the gut, talking hardcore progressive policy changes that have to happen, people are going to listen because people know that. Bernie Sanders and his policies, Marianne pretty much agrees with most of them. So she can pick up the mantle that Bernie has bestowed on all of us with the progressive mantle. She can run with it. It's there for someone to run with it. And Marianne, man, if she doesn't do what she did in 2020, she can make an impact. And that's really my best hope for Marianne, is that she wakes people up. She, continues Bernie's legacy of being an unapologetic progressive, being an FDR style progressive, and calling out neoliberalism, calling out centrism, calling out the corporatocracy. She can do this. And I have faith in Marianne that she's going to bring a message of progressivism. I just don't think she'll be able to win, sadly. But once again, I would absolutely love to be proved wrong. Please prove me wrong. Someone please convince me she can beat Joe Biden. Please. I would love to be lulled, and even if it's a false sense of security. Like, Joe Biden isn't what America needs. We do not need a regressive neoliberal in the White House, okay? We need somebody who's a firebrand. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts, because we're really early on, and there's a lot to talk about and a lot still to develop in this primary. But what are your thoughts on Marianne 2020 right now? Hope you're having an awesome day.